It's such a weird psychological thing to accept that the thing you built your whole life doing and you really love doing is hurting you right now.
This is Nik Nocturnal, and after 12 years of making music, uploading videos, and streaming, he became one of the most recognizable faces in metal, gaining millions of fans in the process. But at the peak of his career, he walked away from everything.
Yeah, I didn't go outside, bro. Like, it was just, like, stupid. And then a couple weeks go by, or a month goes by, and you're like, I left this unchecked completely. I basically just did it the entire time I was awake.
In this episode, Nik breaks down the cause of his burnout so you know what to avoid, how he knew it was time to stop before it destroyed his art, and the rules he follows now so he can keep growing in the music industry without completely overwhelming himself. What did you learn about yourself during that time?
You only fail if you quit doing it, and you didn't learn anything. And that's the failsafe I think I really learned by not being here.
So if you're a music artist or creator who wants to grow in the industry without completely burning out, this episode is for you. Well, Nik Nocturnal, welcome to the podcast, sir.
Dude, thanks for having me, bro.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Dude, I'm stoked to have you on.
Yeah.
I'm curious. You've done something that I don't know anyone else personally who's done this, and that is you stepped away basically at the peak of your career for a period of time. So I'm curious, what was the moment in time where you're like, I gotta take some time to not keep grinding?
Yeah. Honestly, there was just so much life stuff happening that obviously when you're so obsessed with doing, like, you know, content and this and music and all that, whatever, it's just your job, your passion, all that you kind of like forget about life for a second. You know, whether some of it's like consciously or subconsciously avoiding it. And then sometimes you just literally forget. Like I forgot days, like I forgot to go outside, and I'm like, that's probably not like the healthiest and like kind of weird. But it's something I got so used to that I don't know, time kind of just keeps going on. And I think it was before I left, oh my God, I think May of last year or something. It was around almost the winter of right the year before where I was starting to feel it. And I was like, I probably got to do something about this, you know, because there was things going on in my life where the work side was, there was so much happening, like whether it was like, hey, like, let's, you know, get a podcast guest. Hey, let's get, you know, what's the videos of the week? Hey, we got stream going on this week. Hey, we got to get this deliverable for, you know, for management here, or we got to, I don't know, there's just so many different things going on. Like, hey, we're launching new Termina, a new, this other project I'm doing. Like, we got to make sure that the masters are done. We got to make sure everything's uploaded distro. Like, there was a lot of different things going on. And then, like, the days go really fast by, and then life kind of goes, like I said. And, like, there was family stuff that I need to deal with. And just, like, my health, too, like, kind of got a little out of hand where I don't have anything, like, severe, but it was just, like, even, like, intense skin stuff or, like, just normal health, like, hey, like, not really working out and stuff. So, like, you kind of feel like shit. Even, like, my wife was dealing with stuff. So, like, I would be doing all this shit, kind of playing, like, solo mode campaign. And then, like, you know, I would see, like, Paula or something, and, like, she's kind of, you know, we'd go to the doctors and all that, but, like, kind of dealing. And I'm like, you know, even though I'm giving that attention, it's like, I'm not, like, why am I even, like, playing solo when, like, all I want to do is kind of just, like, take a second, figure out my life, and, like, play multiplayer. You know, it's just like, so I just kept realizing that more and more, and, like, I really needed a second to just, like, figure it out, because, like, it's really, it's such a weird psychological thing to accept that the thing you built your whole life doing and you really love doing is hurting you right now, you know, in a way where you're like, I gotta just stop this, you know. And that's like a really crazy thing to do, because that, you know, since I started, it's all I ever wanted to do. And then when you're doing it and, like, you get to a point and you're, like, super stoked about it, and, like, things are going well and all that, and that's the thing you need to stop doing to, like, figure your life out. It's like, that was tricky to, like, mentally kind of, like, go through and figure out. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I think, like, probably for any musician, all we want is some sort of traction to get, like, our art, whatever that is, like, in front of people. And for such a large chunk of people, they never get any sense of traction. And so, like, I would imagine from you started getting this feedback loop of, I'm actually gaining traction, I'm going to keep feeding the beast. That's giving me more traction, and this is actually, like, allowing me opportunities to, you know, have an audience of your own, release your own music, interface with other incredible musicians. And so it's a very, I'm projecting, but I would imagine it's a very confusing experience when everything that you've been rewarded for is now actually the thing that's like hurting you.
Yeah, and it's also weird to explain because it's like it's the best job in the world, and I always say that. That's why it's like super lucky. It's not like oh no, like this is like such a taxing physical thing I'm doing every day. It's just like it's really just about balance, and it doesn't matter what your jobs or priorities are. That's something that took me a second to learn. Is like balance is what any human needs. You know what I mean? That's why even if it is like like best job in the world, I get to wake up, I get to be creative, I get to play music, I get to film videos, like that's awesome, you know what I mean? That's why that's also a hard thing to say bye to because it's hard to relate to people, when someone has like a very intense, job or like they're doing, they're doing like physical labor or like, crazy like 9 to 5 stuff and then they go home and they're exhausted and like just trying to like meet ends meet. So that's why it's also one of those things of like, well, I'm very fortunate in this position because like it's been a lot of years to get to this position where I can do this and be free creatively and do this with my life. And, it's just more layers that make it harder to kind of be like, I gotta stop this. And it was one of those moments too where it's like, and I told my wife this, I was like, so like if I'm going, I'm gonna say it as a break because I don't want to, I don't want to be definitive with stuff, but like, I have to be really happy with like what I did here. And like, I have to be like, if I'm done, I'm done. And that's kind of it. Like, I have to be cool with the legacy and the cool stuff I got to do. And if I don't come back to do this, like, I have to be like at peace with that. I can't be like, at night being like, oh my God, like, what did I do? I have to like, and I was, and that's when I was like, this is the time to go. And it was honestly one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. I needed to do it. Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself during that time?
Oh, dude, so much. I learned a lot about squirrels.
I've seen some squirrel videos.
Yeah. No, man, it was. I mean, a lot of things, but it comes down to the balance idea of just have balance in your life. Because like, I live and breathe this, in particularly when I was going, doing it for 11 years. I would be the kid I was in like high school, and I'd wake up, think about music, and I'd go to school, like just get it done, whatever, and go late and probably not do the best in school at some points. And then come home and instantly just be like music, content, writing something, like what song came out. There was a time when I was in university that my grades weren't the best, but I still finished it. I was supposed to be an accountant, and I was going to be an accountant. And then,
holy shit,
that is the party right there we got going here.
All right, quick cleanup break. That's not something I was expecting. All right, stand by. Yeah, my butt's just wet, but that's fine.
I did not bring an extra pair of pants. I'm sorry, man.
Oh yeah, it's all good. I went to the Bad Omens show the other day, and I was like, I'm so hungry, and they had like Chick-fil-A up at the concourse. And I'm like, I'll just get like a Chick-fil-A sandwich. And I ate it. And then I was talking to Connor from Beartooth. He's like, oh, dude, when I eat those, I have to like shit immediately. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. And so then I went and go watch the show, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to fart. And I went to fart, and I'm like, oh, no, I just shit my pants.
Oh, no. We're too old to be guessing that shit, brother, at this point. See, when, early 20s, we're like, we can take that risk. Nah, dude, when we get past that shit, there's no more like... Yeah, there's no more of that. There's like, dude, don't take a chance, man.
I know. I gambled and I lost and I learned a lesson. But if nothing else, Bad Omens should feel good that their show is so sick that it made me shit my pants.
Yeah, that was a bad
Okay,
number.
Sorry about that. So university.
Dude, I was in university, and dude, I would be like, I got called into like they had like counselors or whatever the fuck they're called, and be like, yo, so you're in this program, you're failing, and he literally said, why are you here? Like like I'm doing accounting, and as I was getting called in, getting like basically like knocked out of that program, but still like in like the smaller kind of degree, just like business. Doomsday, like architects released Doomsday, and all I could think about was going to cover that at home. And I was like, yeah, dude, I think like I got to like figure some shit out, because like obviously like I don't care about this, but like I'm doing it. And I did finish my university degree, but like even like it's been embedded in me to want to do that stuff and like just have fun and do it because I love music. I love sharing music and celebrating it and like writing music. So yeah, it that all contributes to just like, damn, man, it's it's tricky to leave. But then, yeah, during that time, balance is so important, right? Because like it was not like, you know, 8-hour days. Like I basically just did it the entire time I was awake. Whatever it was, like editing. People only see, you know, like the 10-minute video or like the little short, but like it's not that, especially because I'm not just doing YouTube. Like I said, I'm organizing podcasts. I'm my own manager. I'm sorting whatever deals. I'm making sure again the projects are going, managing band, you know, my own project bands, and like it adds up. And again, it's all fun stuff. It's all stuff I put on myself. So like there's no one to blame when that stuff doesn't go well other than me. So yeah, that was just it. It was like I need balance in life, and that's something that's important and something I need to be very cautious of, because I'm a person that like when I'm doing something I want to like go. It's like, oh, that's cool. I get excited about it, and I like kind of really go in like an almost like addictive way, you know? And it's like, oh, like that's something I had to really learn on that and taking my break, was like how to not do that. Because like I want to go all in when something's exciting to me and new and all that stuff, especially, but like I need to balance my life still. I need to not like I need to not forget to like go outside that day just because like I'm excited to finish something, you know?
Yeah. Does that freak you out at all? Of like, because in the past, okay, you get addicted, or a word I would use is like obsessive.
Yeah.
Which again is my perspective is that's like a huge part of really anyone's success, is like getting kind of like obsessive about it. And so to then be like, I gotta pump the brakes at certain times, like, is that scary?
It is, because there's no one that's gonna hold myself accountable but me. And again, I have like a great support system. Like my partner's amazing, and like, you know, the friends I talk with like are very helpful, but like they're very supportive. So it's still, you know, it comes down to me. You know, they'll support me if I want to go crazy. They'll be like, what do you need? Like, we got you, you know, to go all in. And if I want to dial back too, they'll also support that. So like I'm very fortunate and lucky for that. But then also obviously I need to check myself, because again, it's something that it's weird. It's like, it's fun. It's exciting. You get to do something as your passion that you love. So it's like, well, like if I was going to a regular 9 to 5 and came home from work, I would want to do this anyways in my free time. The only problem is then that is all of your time and your free time, and then you forget to just be like a human. And that's the biggest thing I had to learn on that break. Still was like writing, and that's when I was like, when I noticed I was naturally writing, when I noticed I was naturally still listening to music and this stuff. It wasn't just because, you know, it started as a passion, obsession, and it turned into what I do every day, like my job. And then leaving that as a job, I'm like, I want to make sure, like, hey, like, I'm still, like, obsessed with this. Like, I still love this, right? This isn't just, like, going through the motions. And I kind of, I took off the internet. I was like, I don't want to look at any, like, social media, any of that shit. And I noticed myself naturally just wanting to do that. And that was the biggest, like, okay, like, sign for me. Like, that's good. But, you know, check yourself. And, like, if I'm going to do anything, like, learn the balance. Don't just like go one way or the other, and like, because it's not healthy either way. Because I noticed there was times even when I did stop everything, and then there was nothing to do, and then my brain would be like a little like like loud, because I want to do things, but I'm forcing myself to relax, you know. And I'm like, it's both ways. So at least again, everyone's different, but for me, it really was balance is the best word to describe it all.
Do you think balance is something that you like is universal from the standpoint of like, do you wish in the early stages to get to the point that you're at now that you had balance, or do you actually think like a career is kind of broken up into stages?
Yeah, that's so tricky, because I mean, when I was younger, I think I got lucky at the same time, because I just didn't have a social life. But that was partially because of choice and not because of choice. I just, you know, so like it was one of those things where I didn't necessarily had a choice of particular things being balanced, because it just wasn't opportunities. Like, you know, I wasn't really outgoing as a kid. I didn't have a lot of friends. So it was just like, it wasn't for me always like, oh, do I go to like, you know, like I don't know, Jake's party on Friday, or like do I like sit at home and like write a banger? Like I didn't really have the first option that often anyways. So I would just very naturally be like, well, like I'm gonna do what's fun for me, like which was gaming and playing music and writing. So I for me at my younger age, I don't think the balance was as necessary. You know, I mean, specific things like just taking care of yourself should always be a thing. Like I wish when I was younger, like I maybe took working out a bit more seriously and like that kind of health stuff a bit more seriously and like family stuff. For me, I'm glad exactly how my life went because it made it so my life is exactly how it is, the good and the bad. So that's why it's like weird for me to be like introspective in that capacity. In general though, advice I would give people, you know, I guess maybe when they're younger, like have a bit more of a balance, you know, but if you're obsessed with something and you want to get it, you do have to want it more than the next person. And a lot of the time to do that, you gotta kind of be obsessed about it. You gotta be the one that's willing to do the work and not go to, you know, Jake's part. I don't know who the fuck Jake is, but like Jake's party, you know what I mean? Or like go out and do this and spend your time doing this. But also you gotta like have a life because when you get older, you know, if you feel like you robbed yourself of experiences just to do this one thing, that's not gonna feel good too. So I feel like I had enough of a balance for what I wanted for myself, but I think people like to each their own. It really depends on the person.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like it touches on the what what got you here won't get you there
Yeah.
type of thing. Where there's like, at least how I think about it is there are stages, but it's really like that's why I commend you because it's so hard to break out
Yeah.
once you find a pattern that serves you. So
Yeah.
like, you know, for some people, for a large chunk of people, I think the big hurdle they have to get over is just taking action steps towards the thing that they want. Like
Yeah.
so many people, so many artists, so many musicians will be like, I want to be a musician.
Yeah.
And then write like 2 songs and put it out. And then it's
Yeah.
kind of like, I'm kind of done. But
Yeah.
the people who like go super hard and are just like super aligned towards action, it's like, okay, yeah, they're going to get a lot further. But then you get to a certain point and okay, you do that for a decade and you're starting to be like, I'm burning out.
Yeah.
Then you have to optimize towards what changes do I make so that I can keep doing this, you know?
Consistency is I mean, even when it comes to music or content, no matter what, in the end, like sure, good music, good content, et cetera, et cetera. The winner, consistency, always. And like just being able to go. Because I've seen so many people across the journey, both like again on the content end and on the musician end, like bands that you're like, oh, they're sick, they got momentum, or do something, and then they just stop, right? Or like on the content side, where like I remember during my journey, oh my god, it's almost been 12 years now. Just like, you know, I'll be like, oh, I see like these people, you know, my colleagues, you know, I don't know, it's this weird thing. I didn't think of YouTube as a job though, but like sure, like people doing what I was doing. I was like, oh, I'd always see that. And then like, I don't know, you just notice after months, you're like, oh, that like where'd that person go? You're like, oh, they haven't uploaded in like 5 months. Like, oh, and then they're done, I guess, you know. And it's just like you see so much of that. And I think one of the reasons I was able to at least just kind of get to the spot I got with it, with the channel was just like I was the last annoying dude left. To be honest, like that was such a big part of it because I just loved it so much, and I was like, well, I'm not doing this. I would be doing this in my free time, so why not just do this, right? And that also just forced me to get better at stuff. So yeah, like that consistency is by far, like I will always say, one of the most important things. I think it's sometimes better than even making like the best song or best content, is just like being consistent. But yeah, even then it's hard to find the balance with that because you know, you can be consistent with uploading once a week or making a song, you know, or make an album every 2 years, right? Just like with a band. It's just about how you want to pace yourself, and you have to be realistic with it. And that's something I've always had trouble with because I would always go the other way. Always go crazy. I'd be like, this is really fun. Oh, this is really fun. Oh, this is really fun. So I want to do all of it. And then I'm like like drowning myself because like I can't do all of them at the full potential it maybe should be. And then that's when you get pressure. That's when you forget to eat during the day, you know, like shit like that. Like it's just like you forget to do just human things. Again, even though it's the easy, like not the easy, it's like the best job in the world, like whatever it is, being creative. But you kind of like, again, if you lose just the human aspect of it, then like you're so screwed.
Yeah. I relate pretty heavily to like the last man standing type deal.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the like you can't lose if you don't quit type of situation.
Yeah.
Where like, I mean, even from a drumming perspective, it's like I grew up being surrounded by a ton of musicians who were way better than me. And they would get in bands that were way bigger than mine.
Right.
And then eventually they would just kind of like stop.
Yeah.
And I just didn't stop until eventually I'm like, oh, cool. Like working drummer, cool, whatever. Or even like on the channel side of things. Like when I first started my channel, I similarly to you, I would see other drum channels with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I'm like, I will never get that big.
Yeah.
And then I would lap them multiple times over because they would just kind of stop.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's how it works, man. I mean, that's why it's one of those things where it always has to be fun. And that's something I noticed during the journey, because there's some moments like way earlier where I'd be like, oh, that's cool, let me try like this. And I'd be like, oh, this guy's trying this, like, that's cool. And then sometimes I would try things that weren't really fun, and like I'd be like, okay, but then I wouldn't be consistent. So in the end, it was always like, why did I even like bother doing that type of content, or like, I don't know, writing that type of song in both of those aspects. And then I just always noticed the longevity stuff was the stuff that I just had most fun with, and that is what I just kept leaning into over the years of like, well, this is actually enjoyable for me, so like I'm gonna just do it. Because if there's no winning if I don't like it anyways, because I'm gonna stop and it's not gonna realize its potential. So like I can't do that. Like it's just not gonna happen because I'm not liking it. So like, and it's, again, like, it's weird doing that in a specific, particularly creative field where you have to be creative and do that. And hey, I know there's probably some people that just like bite the bullet. They'll do whatever. They'll make whatever content. They'll write whatever just because it's going to be successful. I'm like, kudos to you. If you can fucking do that, like, and you be consistent, congrats. I get bored. I get so bored, and that's just what it comes down to. And then when you have to be creative and excited, especially with like the stuff I was doing, like a lot of talking, a lot of personality-based commentary stuff, where it's like how I'm feeling that day seeps exactly into what you're gonna see. And that's partially also why I left, because I was just dealing with so much shit that like I'm like, this is gonna get bad. Like if I'm not if I'm not okay, it's gonna seep through, and then like everyone's just gonna kind of come down with me with that. Like the vibes are gonna suck, and I'm gonna look back and be like, why I'm not here anyway. Like I'm not mentally here. Why am I, like here? So yeah, no, that's such a tricky thing. Is just like you gotta actually like it, and that's what's gonna make you get all the way to the end, at least,
Well, I think it's going to make everything that you do better also, right?
Yes.
Like if you're writing music that you hate,
Yeah.
it's probably not going to be that good,
Well, you got to play that shit every night too, as a fan.
Yeah.
And like that's like, as a concept person, you at least don't have to watch that video every night.
Totally.
Like as a band, you gotta like play that song, rehearse it every night, and go through those motions. I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna love this song. If I'm not gonna play a song I don't fucking absolutely love, because it's just like I'm gonna hate it. This is gonna be so boring to play live.
100%. Especially when you already have songs that, if you wrote them at a time where you loved them, but
yeah,
and if you're playing it for 10 years, you might get to a place where you hate it. So imagine if you start off hating it, how bad it would be 10 years later.
Dude, that's what sucks so much, and that's why I think I see a lot more bands trying to have fun, and you know what I mean. Especially like bands that have been around for a while. I love that they're embracing the fun when they're, I hear stories always now, like when they're in the studio. Why'd they make this part that became big? Everyone was laughing when it happened because it was awesome. Great. Like that's that energy you want. You want to feel that excitement. And even seeing like some like really like legacy bands kind of embrace their old catalog, when for a moment you'd see a lot of them be like, no, we're going to evolve and do this, and this is our new style now. But all the kids are listening to the old stuff, and then, you got to just like relax and like be like, why did you write that in the first place? Obviously you guys were having fun when you guys were, in the 90s or in the 2000s writing that shit. Like just like, play it if you still like it. Don't like pretend you're too cool for it. What's the point? Have fun doing what you love to do,
So what would, in peak like chaos time for you, what would like a day or a week in the life look like for Nik Nocturnal?
I'll do a day for you, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, because like the setup I had particularly before I left was so weird, and it's hard to explain, because like I was writing music a lot. But I'm also doing content. But it's just like, it's not like, hey guys, I'm spending my whole week doing my one YouTube video. It is, okay, I'm also streaming. So I'm streaming 5 days a week. I'd wake up whatever, 8, 9 o'clock or something around there, exist for like an hour, and then I would check my emails. And oh my God, do people underestimate how much time admin takes of just like that, especially like when you're your own manager and like agent, all of that. So like just responding to people, messaging people, organizing things, if If it's a YouTube video that requires a collab, like that's a bit of a back and forth usually. Especially if it's a podcast, getting in touch with management, PR, talking to the person, saying the time, the date, sending the Zoom invite. Like these are all like really little things that take a lot of time when it's stacked with so much shit. So you spend a lot of time doing admin, sorting stuff. And I wasn't really one doing like a lot of sponsors even. That's its own admin hell. Like when I was doing that with a bit of time where in my career where it's like dealing with that, doing a segment, an ad read with that, and then, working with companies that you don't really know yet. So like they make you read this weird fucking thing and like, and you're like, and then they're like, can you do revision? That's why now if I just work with companies I like, because like they just say, oh yeah, go ahead, and you talk off the cuff. But like even that, like, oh my God, like that takes a minute. And then even then it's like, okay, well now let's, organize the YouTube video. Let's get the editing done. I used to edit all of them myself before I got an editor. I was just a dumbass, man. That's it. It wasn't like, it's not one of those like, oh yeah, I'm so like, I'm going for, it's just, you get to a point of like, I am stupid of like how much I am not delegating. I'm just working hard to work hard instead of like properly like using my brain of like, do I really need to spend my 2 hours of my day doing this when maybe I should at this point get some help, in some capacity. But like, yeah, it came to the point where like, I would basically do all that, like admin, probably film some kind of YouTube video, depending on which year you catch me in, because then there was a part I'd transition and I would stream more 5 days a week. And then I was like, okay, let's work smarter, not harder. Let's do my YouTube homework on stream. Like if there's something to talk about, there's songs to check out. There's a song I'm going to write something. There's a YouTube content. Let's just do it there. Because then I can stream, have fun, have people around, and then it'll be edited later, right? So I started to be a bit smarter in how I work like that. But yeah, it would be like stream around 5 o'clock. But before that, YouTube, admin, sorting, getting little details out, doing thumbnails. A lot of admin. Oh my God. It's just like PTSD of how much time that shit takes. Just discussing with people and planning. Basically most of the day is planning, editing, and then the actual content portion isn't as long as people expect it to be. Like the creation of that, at least in my case. And then songwriting too, and writing, and like I said, admin with the band stuff, because they're, the projects I was doing were like internet projects. So it's not like we didn't have a manager. I was just doing it. Like, hey guys, where's the master? Where's the stabs? All right, let's get a mix going. Let's get this sorted. Let's get things as crazy. But on the craziest time when I was doing my like how to metal series as shorts, it would be film a short the same day, do a stream. Sometimes that short turned into the stream, do a full version of the song, write a whole song, do all the admin stuff regarding that distro, send it to the guy to mix, make sure everyone's paid too, right? Like even stuff like that, of course, is like, make sure you don't screw around in the music industry, like pay everybody, please God, people. Like, oh God, the horror stories, man, I've heard. And get a song released out that same week. So I'd have a song come out with that, which is more of like the YouTube content type song, while still working on an album like for Terminors and one of my like more projects. While making sure I get the stream in, while making sure there's shorts planned for tomorrow, while making sure I have that podcast guest for that week, because they're trying to do weekly upkeep with that. And then the shorts for the podcast guest. Yeah, I didn't go outside, bro. Like it was just like stupid. It was too much I put on myself. Again, fun work, creative work.
Totally.
Besides the admin stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, that's kind of what the day looked. And every day was variable. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't, which is exciting. A lot of people probably would love that. And I do love that, instead of like, all right, exactly at 10, that's exactly when I film my YouTube, or that's exactly when I'm going to start editing this or that. It was very like, figure it the fuck out, like every day, which is chaotic. But
yeah,
it definitely makes every day different.
Totally.
That's what I could say. Yeah.
I think it's like, so many people think like following your passion, you just get to do the thing you're super passionate about.
Yeah.
Where like in reality, it typically looks like you do the thing you're really passionate about like 10 to 15% of the time. And all the other 90 to 85% is so that you can do that thing for 10%. Like
setup. Yeah.
Yeah. Like for me being on the road, like I play for an hour every night, and 90% of my day leading up to that 1 hour is me on the computer, on emails, on Slack, like on Trello boards, planning out different things. Like, yeah, I think that's another reason a lot of people end up quitting, is because they go,
Yeah.
oh, I was kind of sold the dream of I get to do what I love,
Yeah.
so everything's gonna be like
Yeah.
awesome because of that. But I think it's like if you love it enough, all the shit that you have to do
Mm.
uh will be like will push you through all of that so that you can do that thing for like the 15% of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to, yeah. No, that's exactly the kind of mentality of like, I think a lot of people do quit because of that, because it's a lot more of that, and people don't realize. And then you start to realize, you're like, oh yeah, that's why people have managers, agents, labels, because they really do just want the creative side. Even regardless of whatever down the road, they're like, hey, why didn't I earn money from my album? Like they'll like, well, because we were doing all of that shit that most people don't want to do. So that's why, like, when people take that on, it is a lot. It is rewarding and fulfilling, because then it also does make you appreciate the creative stuff more. But I would do that, where it was like when I was doing the actual content or filming, I would tell my chat, like, yo, guys, this is like, I'm done work for the day. Like, this is my vacation time. Like, this is my chill time. I'm now hanging with you guys. And like, that was fun. I already did all the other stuff, which was not as creative, just depending on what it was. But again, it depends who you are. Like, I liked, to a point, doing some of, not all the admin stuff, but like some of the organizational stuff and like business stuff, because it's just like, it's exciting problem solving when you are the one that has to figure it out. But if you fuck it up, it is 100% your problem and your fault, and you screwed it up. So I enjoyed having that freedom and responsibility, but I get it. Most people like hate that. It's like a nightmare for them. They want to be like, I am a musician, I want to write music, or I'm a content person. Why am I spending time sending emails or trying to get like deals or brand deals and shit like that? Like, I just want to like make content. So like, that's awesome too. And if those people that are able to like just do that and like have fun with that, kudos, like, respect. But yeah, that's why it's such a we work such a weird place where everyone does things differently. There is no playbook. There's no do this or that, and that's why, like, for even myself, like, I've just stuck to that mantra. Like, I realize it has to be fun. I have to like it, and I have to provide some kind of balance in my life. And like, that's however that turns out, for me at least, has always helped me the best. And that's what I've noticed in my life. I have also been the most successful at whatever it is and the most excited about things and the most like fulfilled. Um, because if I go too far one way, I don't feel fulfilled when I finish that thing. I just finish it and I hate it. And then the vice versa. Then I don't, if I go too far the other way, then that thing's not done and I didn't reach the potential of it. So like, it's such a tricky, weird psychological thing to like understand, like, figure out. Like, I'm sure you've had to deal with it over the years, man, of like, it's hard to figure shit out. Like, and no one tells you how to figure shit out. So you just figure it out, like, yourself, right?
Yeah. Something I tried to be intentional about like this year at the start of the year was, you're thinking about like your goals or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think I lean very much your way, where I think my tendency is to be like, what are all the things I can pick up and
Yes.
like do all at once?
Yep.
And I think a lot of people fall into that trap, probably especially creatives, because like, well, I think like the creative brain is all about like experimenting. Like, what if I do this? And then what if I do this? And then what if I do this? And then you're doing a million things. But to your point earlier, potentially not doing any of them very well, as opposed to if you were doing like one thing, like all in.
Yeah.
And so like the mantra I kind of asked myself of like, okay, if you're going to pick something up, like if you're going to do a new thing,
Yeah.
you have to put something down.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
and that's just going to help you prioritize, because now you have to, look at it on a sheet of paper or whatever and say, okay, is this new thing I want to do? Like, do I believe in it so much that I'm willing to let go of
Yep.
another thing that I'm working on? And maybe it's not always that, maybe that thing isn't actually important. Maybe someone's just saying like, I just want to like commit to writing music every day.
Yeah.
And the thing I'm going to put down is watching TV for an hour at the end of the night. You know what I mean? Like, it could be something like that.
Just watching TV, bro. I miss, dude. That's why it's like, there's some people you might be like, hey, did you catch this movie or like this show? And I'm like, when? Like, it's,
Yeah.
and that's where I realized like, I kind of should be able to have like a second for that. Not like necessarily the mentality of like I earned that minute or hour, but it's just like the idea of like, I should do that for myself. You know what I mean? Not that I need, not that I even want it. You know, not that I want to go outside. You know, maybe in a day like it's raining and shitty, right? But like I need to do right by I don't know, my mind, my brain, my body, and just like just do it. You know, like even if I, funny enough, don't want to. Ironically,
Yeah.
it's such a dude. We have weird jobs, man. We have weird
Yeah.
jobs.
Yeah, grateful for it, but yeah, it gets nuts for sure.
Yeah, it's so weird to sit there and whenever I was like, maybe I should like just like take a second or like explain this. Every time I'd be like, how the fuck do I even explain this to people? Like, you know, when you're doing what you love, you're excited. You make your own hours, even though the hours are 18 hours a day. But they're yours. You get to decide when they are. It's really tricky to do that, and then your brain kind of like goes back in itself, and you're like, you know what? It's okay. Like I'm just gonna keep going, and I'll figure it. And sometimes that could be really unhealthy, unfortunately. You know.
Yeah, it's a really tricky balance of like acknowledging that anything that you're doing, there's going to be hardships involved.
Yeah.
I think some people negate that. They go, oh, you get to a certain level, you get to do what you do, so there's no hardships. That's not the case. There are hardships. However, would we prefer the hardships of doing the thing that we love over the hardships of not doing the thing we love? Of course. Like, definitely. And I think some people do lose sight of that sometimes, at least in my experience in the industry, like seeing how certain people just only focus on like the negative, and it's like it, like you said, it's a balance. It's like, don't get me wrong, yeah, sometimes you're away for 2 months and you're like, it would be nice to be in my bed, but also like, look at what I get to do, even though I'm exhausted, my entire body hurts, I, you know, whatever. Still like maintaining that perspective is helpful, but not to the point where you're killing yourself, right?
No.
What so now that you are back, what is output less? Like, do you put out less things?
Oh yeah, dude, it's so weird to explain this to, because in my brain I do. However, the output in terms of the effort and the time put in is less. However, the result is somewhat similar, and that's why it's weird. Because like I'm like right now, I told you in my chat, I'm like, thank you guys for being so patient. You know, like I'm kind of like I'm in passive AFK mode right now, and they're like, you uploaded a video this week, and then you did a podcast this week, and then you streamed this week. What do you mean? You know what I mean? And then I'm also writing and stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, but compared to what I put on my plate before in the back end, is particularly right. It's probably like 1/5 of what that was, and that's why hey, that's great if people don't necessarily fully notice. They're just like, oh yeah, it's Nik this week. Of course, Nik's back, so I see his video. I'm like, sure, yo, if you feel like that's the same as what I was doing before, and you're happy, that makes me happy, because it's a lot less in that capacity. There are times as soon as I came back where I had to catch myself of that balance again, because same thing, you're back, you're excited, you want to do everything again. But the only difference is this time I was very self-aware that that's what I do. I was very self-conscious of like, I know what I do to my body, I know what I do to my brain, I know I forget to do this, and that sucks. I know I forget, I forget to go to the gym and this. And like, I had to literally tell myself every day, and tell my wife too, I'll be like, this is like, life has to always be priority. Like, even a small thing, like, I have to go to the gym today. Like, it sucks outside, it's raining, it's cold, I have to today. Because as soon as I don't, it's not about the physical side at that point, even it's the psychological aspect of, I did that as a priority, as I should have, then instead of being obsessive about this and this, or forgetting to do that, because it's such a slippery slope every time of, okay, I forgot to deal with shit today because I was too busy working, I ate like shit or whatever. Like, again, I'm just doing more like the health stuff, particularly because that probably relates to more people, and stuff I would have to deal with too. But like, whatever, like, there's family stuff going on I didn't deal with too, or whatever, like psychological stuff or particular. It's such a slippery slope where like you kind of don't deal with it one day, and then you don't deal with it the day after, and then it gets lost really quickly. And then a couple weeks go by, or a month goes by, and you're like, I left this unchecked completely, and I notice now is the problem, and it's an issue. So I had to catch myself a few times, even with like the award show we do every year. Like it's a lot of work, and I was just like, oh yeah, this is like I just do my thing. I mean, I was doing it, oh my god, even doing that, I'm like, I need to check myself. I had to dial back quite a bit on a lot of like extra projects or ideas or collaborations or output in general, because if I didn't, dude, I would have, yeah. But there's points that slope. I was like, and I needed to instantly recalibrate, and that's the failsafe. I think I really learned by not being here for a while. If I didn't have that failsafe, it's just the cycle repeats itself.
Yeah, I think that's like a really important insight too, because you mentioned this earlier of like, I could just, when you're in the thick of like not enjoying it, feeling burned out, I could just keep doing this. My art is going to reflect the nature of my state of being. And so naturally everyone else will probably feel that, and things will probably get shittier for a period of time. And I think it's so much like, because musicians, artists, I'm sure we all like experience burnout to so many levels. And I think it's actually like a really pro move, instead of being like, I'm going to keep putting out art that's less good and start to burn goodwill with my audience who expects me at a certain place. It's a lot harder to dig yourself out of the hole of, oh, now my audience for the past 6 months is like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't really connect with that. So then they kind of drop off, as opposed to just being like, I'm stepping away. It almost creates a moment of intrigue in itself. Because like I said at the beginning of the podcast, people don't really do that. And then they're not incentivized to do it, that's for sure. And then when you come back, you're full of energy, but your audience is like so ready for it. You know what I mean? As opposed to being like, yeah, for the past 6 months, like I posted shitty content or shitty music, and now I've got to try to like earn that goodwill back,
Yeah, it's tricky too, because then there's, and I'm sure you have this part of your brain too, where in this job you have to want it, like you have to go. We were trained to do that. When you start with nothing and no one to give you shit, of like, hey, this is how you do. Here's the playbook. You got to figure everything out yourself, and you learn to be self-sufficient. You got to earn it. Like, you got to want it. And then when you earn it, guess what? No one else is going to give a shit, and you're just going to have to earn it more. You know what I mean? Like, you never actually fully earn the thing and have that like safety of like, I've done it. I have this safety. Everything's like chill. Some might have a clarity moment when like you're calm for a second, and I felt like when I left, I actually had that, funny enough, when I wasn't doing it. But I'm sure you can even relate to it. Like, you just go so hard, where there's something intrinsically inside of us that's like, go. It's like that ambition of like, let's go. We can do it. Like, oh, this person's grinding this person's doing 5 videos. Like, why am I being, why am I being a loser? Like, I could do 7. Not that it's always driven in a competitive way, right? It's just like one of those things that, like, you see people work grinding, and that's something which I'm sure, like I said, we're sure we both relate, of like, that's encouraging. That's like, oh, let's go. However, and that's the thing, I really, with my brain, I had to basically like turn some of that mode off of like understanding that instinct, and then I go for it. And it's a healthy instinct, because it's ambition. It makes me not lazy. It makes me want to do stuff, but also not going too far into it where it actually has a negative impact. It's really hard to balance. I don't know if you've had to over the years of like,
100%. I feel like since probably high school, I felt behind.
Yes. Yep.
And that's never changed. Of like, I've had so many bands, even in my high school period, where we like gain a little bit of traction, and then we break up, and I'm like, fuck, I got to start over. Okay, so I feel like behind, and that, I mean, my whole life is just like, how can I avoid this feeling of being behind? I think the answer is that I won't, unless I internally make that conscious choice. But again, like, me personally, I'm almost scared to let that go, even though I know it's not necessarily a healthy, I don't even know that I want to judge it as unhealthy, to be honest. It has served me in a lot of ways. Like, it gives me ambition. I do think ambition, motivation, obsession, like, it can come from places of scarcity and places of abundance and like freedom. I think both are useful. I think if you only live on more the negative side, then it can start to be a problem.
Yeah.
So it's something I'm aware of, because it's just like, like you've experienced, we've all had the milestones
Yeah.
in our mind that we've accomplished, and we told ourselves, when I accomplish this milestone, I will feel X way. And then we do, and
Yeah.
we don't feel that way.
What's
And
the
so
next
then we
thing?
move it and we
Yeah.
move it and we move it. And I think that is part of the cost of like gaining traction in this. I don't think it has to always be the cost, but
Well, it's a drive, right? And that's like something's got to drive it, and that's something so important. That drive, that want to just wake up, right, and like get shit done is like so important. And like that is what it's gotten me to where I am nowadays. You know what I mean? And where the channel went and everything. But again, that's where it's just, oh my god, it's so important to follow that. And I always want to follow it because it's exciting and it makes me feel alive. You know, it makes me feel like, let's go. Like, yes, this is it makes you fulfilled. It makes you feel like you have purpose, right? And yeah, it just always tricky to find that like part where you're like, oh, I went too far. You know, you're like, oh no, oopsies. You know what I mean? Like this is, this can have negative effect. It took me just like age, I think, just getting older to realize that like that's such an important aspect of life to drive people and make them successful at whatever they do. That it also comes sometimes at a cost. I remember being young and being like, this person's successful. Like, what the fuck's their problem? You know what I mean? Like when you're like a dumbass, like middle school or teenager, like, we don't know what the fuck we're doing, right? Like you're just a kid. And, you have those perceptions of people, right? You're like, you're successful. Like, what's wrong with your life? And then I think it's just, as you get older, you realize like, oh, there is a good and bad to every single possible aspect of life, and that's why it's just like, figure it out for you of like what you can handle and what's proper and how far you can go in one way with, an ambition without it being like way too far for yourself, or you start even, obviously ambition, people can hurt others, and you're like, oh shit. Yeah, that, especially in the entertainment industry, my goodness, that happens more often than it should, right? So that's where it's just check yourself and being very like just conscious of like how you're feeling. Like literally checking in with yourself at least like once a week is like a really good, helpful tool.
totally. Yeah, man. And I respect it. I even think about like, not to get into like numbers or anything, but I'm like, I would imagine there would be a financial stress of being like, I'm going to not keep putting stuff out. I'm not going to keep doing the thing that pays me for, of course, like there's residuals, but those all like, I'm sure like just kind of.
My catalog's not worth shit, bro. Don't worry about it.
Well,
like,
even YouTube monetization, you know what I mean? Like, I guess I don't really know.
My YouTube catalog's also not worth it anyways. just so you know. It's one of those things where I was, that's why, like, it's not like I made that decision that day when I left, it was like months of like figuring out, talking to the people around me and being like, and then just being able to support people and being like, whatever you're going, like, if you're crazy, go for it. You know what I mean? Like, we'll follow you to the depths. And like, I have so much appreciation and respect for that, because that's hard. Yeah. That's like, hey, so, I'm gonna leave. Now, I don't know how long. You see rent exists. Like, and I don't know. It was just one of those things where like I've been in it for so long that I knew it was the smartest thing to do, and I'm so glad I did it. And I was fine enough where it wasn't like, oh my god, like I didn't fucking do videos. This, like, I'm homeless, like I'm chilling. But like it's still one of those like conscious things, like you gotta work. We work in music. We don't work in we don't have finance videos with those CPMs and shit.
Dude,
like that.
I know, man. We could.
We could, dude. Yeah.
Just mention music and like a little bit of stocks to just boost those CPMs.
Let's go, dude. Yeah. So that's where it was one of those things where I also over the years felt a bit more comfortable because I wasn't all in on one basket, and that's something I was lucky enough to learn when I was a bit younger. Like, of like, hey, if you're gonna like just do YouTube, which no one necessarily told me this, but like the insight I got from watching a lot of people and seeing just how life went on and the content space was like, if you're gonna do YouTube, probably don't just do that, because one day, YouTube can be like, hey, fuck half of your AdSense, and you're like, that's weird, like it's one of those things where that scares me more than anything, of like being so reliant on one particular source, which I mean, I know that's how the normal world works. So like, I get it. You know what I mean? And that's something that always scared me when I was younger about getting like a regular just 9 to 5 is like, so my employer today I can say like a funny comment that he don't like and I'm fired. So like, I don't, I'm homeless. Like, you know what I mean? Like that scared the shit out of me much more than me wanting to just YOLO all in on myself. You know what I mean? I was like, I'd rather be the one reason I'm homeless than somebody telling me I don't have a job anymore. And that's where, like over the years, like I've spread through multiple different things. I'm like, well, YouTube's great, you know, but also like, you know, podcast is its own thing, streaming, you know, like kind of split things up. So when I left, there wasn't like, you know, you see them. It's so funny. Like the YouTube thing goes from like done. Like you have to be so particularly with like YouTube, where it's just like, okay, that income source is gone. Like it's just like doesn't exist anymore, which is funny, even though you do it for 12 years. But I knew that was gonna happen. I was just like, okay, because like you know, I have multiple things going on, and that's why it was like I felt very comfortable still, and I would have felt still comfortable, you know, without needing to come back, because that's I want to make that sure too. It's like there is no I leave and then I'm like, oh, next month, shit, I forgot to pay. Yeah, I couldn't put that on myself either. I'm like, I have to do this so properly, and that's why I took months before I left to like really make this decision. Because it's a psycho. You know, and I understand. I got messages, not people being like, Nick, are you fucking insane? But like, you know, there was kind of like, hey, bro, are you okay? Which are very nice messages, by the way. But like, also like, I get it. It's like how that looks. Like, hey, I just quit everything. Yeah, like, I understand how that looks, but you know, I made sure like we're chilling. We'll be fine. Like it's not like a big panic. Like there's a lot of things we did over the years, that like will have residuals and things like that. And like, you know, whatever, we fucking go to Costco and we meal prep like and figure it out and pay rent and like, okay. You know, like I was in that position where I had the freedom to do it. And I know 99% of people don't have the freedom to just not work for 6 months. You know what I mean? So that's where I felt comfortable, and the people, you know, everyone around me was super supportive. I was like, "You're fucking crazy, but I will go through the journey with you." I was like, "All right," and that's all I really needed. But that's something where, like, yeah, I mean, it's psychotic, man. Like, it's a crazy idea, and that's where it was fun. I was just like, "All right, this is cool," and that's when I was considering, like, I was thinking coming back, right? I was like, so like what's the situation? You know, like I've been actually writing music. Like I've been doing it naturally. I've been doing all this stuff. Like I've been doing all the things I want to do as if I was doing content in a bit of a different capacity though. Like I'm not keeping up with like the commentary news and like who fucking got canceled and all that shit. You know, like that's I just like it wasn't. It's exhausting. You know, when there's so much negativity, like just making that part of your life. I was like, that's not fun. I want to do the fun things. So I spent a lot more time. I was like, do I feel comfortable without like pressure of anything else? Like no financial pressure, none of this shit. Just like, do I actually want to like just do this in a different capacity? Yeah. Right. And I was like, yeah. And it was really as simple as just, okay, well, if I feel happy and comfortable and to do that, great. You know what I mean? And it was funny. I know it's on the financial side. When I came back, actually, I made less because then people stopped missing me. So just for reference with that too, I think people, you know, assume, oh, you're like boom, right? It's actually funny because then people stop watching your catalog of whatever it is, because then they're like, oh, now you're there. So like, and then you deal with the algorithm stuff. I'm like, all right, that's how it goes. But like, again, that's why that it's very important. I mean, just as an adult, you get older to like have that part of the mindset, but it's to not make the decision of everything, especially in a creative field, because it's just not, people see through it. You can't be authentic if you're just doing only a specific thing just to like make bank. And I mean, like when we're both young, we're not like, yo, bro, we're gonna fucking make so much dough, like, you know, fucking play metalcore and shit, like, you know, like
Yeah, we're in the wrong genre, dude.
yeah, dude. YouTube wasn't a job like when I was even in high school or university. Like that, there's no such thing as be a YouTuber, bro. Like or you know, and all you would get when it came to the music industry and like, hey, okay, go be in a band was just horror stories anyways. So like, you know, it wasn't like a really financially incentive thing to do when you're younger. So you kind of just YOLO and figure that shit out, man. But yeah.
You bring up a good point from the standpoint of like, you know, we talked about going all in on one thing, but I also agree that in 10 years that I've been like in the industry, I have had, while yes, like music adjacent things is like the thing that I'm going all in, like the stream of income has always been separated for me, of like coming from multiple different places, of whether that's, okay, so I tour, but then I also have this like other drum lesson thing. And then, you know, like it's the days of just, for the most part, of like just writing music, unless you're like a pro songwriter and that's all you do and you're on like really big shit, like cool, then that's your one stream and that's awesome. But it's like, it is combining, at least for me, right? Like touring with YouTube AdSense, with sponsorships, with memberships that I sold myself, with courses that I sold myself. And that, you know, and so it's like, okay, now we're already immediately looking at 5 different sources, and then it continues to change. So it is, I think, to be a musician now, like it is helpful to have those multiple streams. I'm curious, like not to get into numbers or anything like that, but like if there was a pie chart of, you know, like I just laid out, okay, there's this, and this, and like probably the main ones for me were touring and selling my own memberships. All the other stuff is, you know, maybe fills in 12%, but those would like be the main things. Like for you, whether now or before, like what's that pie chart look like?
Yeah. So my YouTube is one of the lowest ones, which is really funny. It's like, because I'm a YouTuber, I get it, right? But also, like, I did 1,000 videos on my channel that, like, for the first 5 years that got claimed. You know, it's like, I still have them because they're like really funny to look to. Like the first 5 years of YouTube, where I get like, you get your AdSense payments, and it literally said 50 cents.
That's amazing.
Like, and I'm just like, this is just like, you know, I didn't do this shit to do that. I did because like I would be that weird kid that like I didn't fit in, and I want to go home and I want to cover a song and share music. Like, so that's why, you know. But yeah, that's probably one of the smallest. I guess the bigger one is funny enough streaming, which is ironic. Yes. Because I mean, I also, it's like I'm independent, so like it's just, you know, you throw it on like a distro, whatever.
Yeah.
And you're just like, if it works, like cool, and you get catalog and like that actually.
And from streaming, would it mostly be Spotify or Apple Music?
Yeah, Spotify.
Okay.
Fuck Spotify. But yeah, Spotify. Yeah, Spotify, and then Twitch. Funny enough, and that is basically just like support, like that's subs. So like I have a very weird like balanced portfolio, and that it's very unorthodox, I think, of how mine works, because it's based on, it is, even though I'm a YouTuber, it's actually based more on music I've written or like the covers and stuff I released on that, and then people just wanting to support what I do on the channel, and I'm like, that's super sick. You know, like it's there. If you're a YouTuber, you make, you know, it's this and sponsors. But yeah, no, for me, it's like inverted.
Yeah.
And like I'm very lucky and I'm blessed. I'm like, that's cool. You know what I mean? Like I'm chill with that and have a lot of fun. So that's kind of it. But like, oh my God, like there's so many different like minor things, whether it's like podcasts are cool too. Like, that's the thing. There's so many like small things, and then they just add up, and you're like, it's a bit more like relieving. So like it's like just risk diversification. That's why with my career, I don't think I had the burnout stress that most content people have of like, oh no, my YouTube isn't doing well. Because they usually, it's like a financial stress of that. You know what I mean? Versus like, I was always just like kind of chilling, but because I was always like, yeah, I had this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, you know, like I'm not like a stock bro. You know, it's just in the creative space, there's a lot of different things I was doing. And they're all like little bits here, and here, like, and they add up to so many difference that you're like, oh, if this goes down, like, okay, like obviously you don't want, like, that's not ideal. You know, I'm a very bad business person as you do with that. But like, it's not ideal, but it's not, that's something I was always very fortunate for it not to be like, oh no, I'm panicked. Like, what do I do? Like, YouTube's not doing so well. What's the trend? How do I get more views? You know, like, holy shit. Or like my songs aren't streaming as well. Like, oh my God, like what's, you know, what's the, you know, how low do I have to tune now? Fuck, you know, like, like, you know, like how much production? Like, I don't know, figure it out. Like I felt very fortunate that I didn't feel that pressure on that end to do it. It was more of a creative pressure whenever I'm like, I need to adapt or change. Like, you know, if YouTube wasn't doing well, it was more like, do I suck? You know, like,
Totally.
oh fuck, like does
No
this
one cares
suck?
about me.
Yeah, like does this content suck ass? Like, and I'm like, maybe, you know, like it would be more of like a psychological in that aspect. Because and I recommend that to anyone, just like try to have a few different things, no matter how small. Like, fuck, you have something paying you $50 a month, like, bro, you pay your fucking internet cable. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about that now. Like, that's awesome.
Totally.
So, like, as many of those as you can where it makes sense, in like your environment is what is kind of how I've always done it. And what I'd recommend, like anyone in the creative space to try to figure the fuck out.
Totally. Yeah, it's interesting if you're someone who puts out a lot of creative.
Yeah.
I do think it sucks, and it's also awesome that you get confronted with the question all the time of like, oh shit, do I suck? Because like 80% of what you put out is not going to perform.
I thought that's a day.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like 80% of what you put out is probably not going to perform the way that you want it to.
Yeah.
And so then you go, why? And it sucks, but I think it's actually like some of the most important questions to ask yourself to like actually grow, which is why I do think like the people who do take action are the people who disproportionately do so much better, not only because they have the consistency that you're talking about, but because they have so many more life cycles of putting something out. You just learn something from making that in the first place. So you're taking that information in, then you put it out, then you learn how people responded to that positively or negatively. And so you're getting like multiple learning cycles just by doing like one thing.
Yeah.
And then over and over and over if you're super consistent. And that's just like how the snowball goes. But I think like at least so many people who I work with are just, there's a very, there can be a very perfectionistic tendency to keep wanting to make it perfect before putting it out. But putting it out is going to make you a million times better, a million times quicker.
Oh, well, you just have to suck ass before you don't. Like
exactly
in everything. Like there's so many, anytime I do a new adventure, like I'm gonna suck ass until I don't. Like that's I've accepted that.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. You know, part of it has a charm. And sometimes you do some of the best things ever when you're in that moment in your life of like a new thing where you're sucking ass and just like figuring it out. You know, you're just like, damn man, like you look back sometimes and you're like, I knew no idea what I was doing, and I accidentally did something awesome because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's like, it's such a special spot that I guess more people just embraced of like, just again, taking that time and not being so discouraged of failing it. Because you only fail if, I really do think that you only fail if you quit doing it and you didn't learn anything from it. If you learned something from it, it's not, you learned. It was a learning thing. Like that's amazing. That's more than what 90% of people that try to do that thing can take away from that. So like, embracing that is so important, especially in a field that's the entertainment industry that is so unforgiving. Oh my God. In every way, creative and the creative content side, the social media side, the music side. Oh my God, it is. You will not get a pat on the back unless you are literally doing the best possible thing possible. So like you got to get used to, you know, tapping your own hand and being like, all right, bro, I didn't fail this one, you know, and just be happy with that.
100%. Yeah. You either win or you learn. That's like kind of what how I think about it and how I embrace failure, because again, I do think like you'll fail most of the time.
Yeah.
It's all, you only need to connect 20%. Like even if you look at all-time great albums, like typically if a single album can have 3 songs that did insane, that is a huge success. And that's normally 3 out of 12 to 13 songs. Like pretty low ratio or percentage. You know what I mean? And yeah, I feel like so much of the time the expectations, like it all has to do like amazing.
Yeah. Well, especially if you have, again, that drive, that ambition, it's almost counterintuitive to like be really ambitious and want to achieve something like really great. You know, you always want to aim for the top when you have that mentality. And that's something where when you don't reach there, it can be discouraging, even if you reach like the level right under it. And that's something where I start to learn as I get older. I would be like, oh, I kind of get how this works. So I'm going to I'm going to aim for the dumbest thing possible that I know is not possible. I'm going to pretend it is. because then I'm going to achieve maybe the thing that I was kind of aiming for. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to achieve right under. So I would 100%, or I'd be like, I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and this, and I'm just the magic man. You know, this takes 1 hour. This, you start to do the math. You physically cannot do this in 24 hours. And I'd be like, okay. Like, but like, I'm going to aim to do it. And then because of that, I get more done than I wouldn't have. Again, though, balance. And that's where, you know, part of my brain loves to do that. But then it's also like, you got to check yourself a bit, because if you go too far and you really, really do that too far, you're just like, then you're just a dumbass, you know? And that's what's happened like a lot. And that's why it's like very chill and like somewhat therapeutic to talk to myself and talk through that sometimes with people, because it's just like, you just got to figure shit out, man, when you're going through everything. Like, you got to figure it out. There's no one's going to give you the magical answer. No numbers are going to even sometimes give you the magical answer. It's really just like, what do you feel? Does it make you happy? Do you enjoy it? And just be smart as you can, because everyone's going to tell you this, this, and this, and this. And it's just like, no one's going to care about what you do more than you do. And that's what it comes down to.
100%. Yeah, I think like the way I try to think about it is like, the people who are the most successful are like obviously very talented and good at what they do.
Yeah.
Of course. But you have to be like delusionally optimistic.
Oh yeah.
You know?
I'm delusional all the time.
Yeah, which is all, like, I think the people who make the most progress are the people who are kind of out of their mind. You know? Like,
we're all psychopaths.
Yeah.
100%. Like, the ideas I sometimes tell my wife too, I'm like, can we try to do this? Like, and like, she's so supportive and so funny. She'll just look at me and be like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, just be like, I'm around, I'm down for the journey. You know what? Sure. Cause I know you're crazy, you know, like, I know you're going to figure, you know, you're going to do whatever, but like, that's part of the fun, is like being, delusional and kind of just going for it, but doing it, you know, and seeing how far you can achieve the crazy thing you want to kind of fulfill, you know, because, you know, you might be like, oh my God, I did it. One of the things for me was the award show. Psycho idea.
It's crazy, man. I can't, those are such insane productions. I can't believe it.
I can't either when I'm, because it's not me, like I'm part of it and I get the team, and there's all the admin and setup, and I work with a lot of people. But even when, like, I'm not the production team, right? Like I'm the team of, I'm like the general manager getting it all sorted, you know what I mean? And even with that, it's like, even when I see the production work and I'm like, yo, you guys are fucking crazy. Like, you know, I'm like a fan. I'm like, how are you guys doing this? Like, this is way too cool for like what we're trying to, you know, like, you guys are doing like, they're doing like, what's that crane camera? I completely forgot that. They had like a crane camera and shit like that. I'm just sitting there, cause like, you know, we talk and we pitch these ideas, cause we speak like a long, it's a lot of effort to get that show to happen. And they pitch ideas and crazy stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, that sounds insane. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, can you pull it off? And they're like, maybe. I'm like, good enough for me, bro. You know, like, that's, again, it's that delusional, just like figure it out. And it's cool when you see it, kind of everything come together, because before everything comes together in any capacity, content, music, it's all a shit show. Most of the time, it's usually figuring it out. No one knows what's happening. Or you get like the lightning in the bottle and you're just like, oh, this is magic from like the first second. Okay, well, I guess it's done. And like, we did it, right? Yeah. There's like no in between. There's no like kind of like, oh yeah, it's like kind of a nice smooth ride. It's either like chaos or like, oh, like we got it right away. And with the show too, it's always like, dude, I remember there was one year we did the show, and I love Sweetwater so much, working with them, because they're so chill, and we do it at their facility. We didn't even have run a show ready 20 minutes before the show.
Oh my God.
Because we were like going, and it was one of those where we just all were a little delusional, and we all just trust each other.
Yeah.
And we pulled it off, and it was one of the best shows we did of those shows, because it was just like, figure it out, go. We didn't do like a single like rehearsal, any kind of tech rehearsal.
That's crazy.
Hope everything works, bro. And if it doesn't, adapt.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of keeps you loose too, because you're not so like rigid to the structure of here's how it's supposed to go. You're kind of just like, oh, see, it's work, you know.
I was the worst, and I'm a terrible YouTuber. When it comes to anything, like if I have to do anything like scripted based in any.
Oh,
always
dude.
the worst. I would stumble my words. I would forget everything. I would fail. I would have to film it a million times for like 3 hours, like 10 seconds or something. And funny enough, streaming really helped me, because I realized, like, because it's just, you're live streaming, there is no like figure it out. So I got lucky somewhat earlier in my career. Like I started to do that, and it made me so loosened that like I much prefer off the cuff, like figure it out. Like I as professional as I can be with things. But at the same time, it's like I don't over prepare because I know if I do that, I'm going to literally make it worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like the thing that's tricky about like the delusional optimism is I think there's like this lonely period in your life where you are delusionally optimistic for a really long period of time with no evidence that you can actually pull anything off.
Yeah.
And so I think for probably a lot of people, you have friends and family being like, you maybe shouldn't be trying to do the thing that you're going for, right? But then in it, I would just like put that's probably just going to be a 10-year period of time before you like connect. But then once you do and you actually have like that thing comes to fruition, then it reinforces this cycle of like, okay, I am someone who can like have a crazy vision and it comes to life in some way, shape, or form. And like I feel like that the second time around is much shorter. The third time around is much shorter to where, now you can look at your wife and be like, hey, I've got this batshit crazy idea. And she's just like, yeah, okay, cool.
All
because
of them. Yes.
because you're now at a point in your life where you've had so many crazy ideas where your hit rate of actually pulling them off is somewhat high. So people are just like, hell yeah, Nick's got something crazy again. So
yeah, my KDA is low, but my hit rate's high with abs. So like, dude, I think it's important to just go for it. And it's like you said, you don't get the like when you're like that, you don't really get the satisfaction of like the achievement of it sometimes because you are so delusional and then you're always on to like what's the next, like you kind of keep going. That only in my career, like I would only notice if something actually worked like a year down the line or two. Like for me, because like even though I'm very self-reflective with how I am and how I just I would treat myself and others around, and like just I try to be like a normal, cool, chill dude, because that's like right, and like check, like I said, take care of myself and all this shit. And make sure like content stuff like is executed well and done all the stuff. A lot of times, it's like it'll take a while for me to look back, and it's not like when I do it, I feel like it's not good. It's just I feel like, oh, we did it, that's cool. Like I am in content, but in terms of it getting that full gratification, I guess it usually happens way later with me. Where like even some of the award shows sometimes like it's such an event where like I won't get that gratification of like, oh, that was sick, like that moment of like, hell yeah, bro. Like until like I'm working on that, maybe next year's one. And I look back and I'm like, oh wow, we did like a pretty good job on that, or like an album or something, Terminal or shit. Like funny, I had like we had an album of Terminal with Andy, and then we look back on we didn't text much, and then recently I know he was like, dude, Christmas I listened to that record, it's sick, and I was like, dude, I just listened to that record, like we kind of did some cool shit, bro, like, and it's like. It's very weird because it's such a delayed gratification, and I don't know if that's even normal, if that's it's just like, but like I very much relate to that because it's something you have to get used to not fully getting that until maybe like a bit of time.
Yeah, I think I relate to it certainly, where because I think if you pull something off, whether that's releasing an album or whatever, it's more of just like I can now just like maybe take a deep breath, but also not really a deep breath because now I need to see how it does.
Yeah, you should
and then so it's like it is only in retrospect where you kind of just like are away from the stress of it, away from the performance of it, where you can maybe like go back and be like, oh shit, that was actually that was dope. I'm impressed with what we did, know, and that makes a ton of sense to me. What's your take on metal music right now?
Like
how would you? Do you think it does exist, or do you think it doesn't exist?
I'm a metal poser that only listens to core music, so I'm not qualified to talk about this.
No, like what's your take on like the state of metal right now? Do you think? I feel like I've seen like discourse on. Some people are like metal is growing bigger than it ever has, and other people are like metal is dying.
I mean, it's I guess it's weird because if you take the perspective of probably like I don't know, the 80s, 90s, I was like -1 years old at that point. But like I'm assuming then, like when you have these massive, massive bands during that time, and if success is rated by like CD sales and shit like that, and how much money the industry makes, then like I mean, yeah, it's probably less than that. But then you also look at the 2000s and you're like, you see all these massive bands like the new metal pop off, and like the melodic, my favorite stuff, like the melodic metalcore stuff that popped off, and like I think that was just like the new age of American heavy metal, whatever the fuck they called it. Where it was like bands like Killswitch and like Bullet, Trivium, and that stuff, and then obviously new metal like the Korn, Slipknot, System of a Down, and Biscuit, particularly that, and you see I grew up in that era, and I would see that stuff in like video games and stuff. And like to me, that was the biggest music in the world. You know what I mean? Because like when I was growing up, and I'm like sure, like my mom would put on like Britney Spears and like Shakira and shit, and like I actually love that. Britney goes hard, all right. But like, oh hell yeah, dude, all right. But at the same time, it was like I grew up in that era where like that seemed so big, anyways, that I was like, well, this is massive. And then I look at retrospect, and I'm like, it was pretty big. It was like in all these video games and stuff. So like it's such a weird thing where again, it's kind of almost to each their own. Where like I feel the 2000s was massive, and I feel like now, there are bands doing big things like playing at the like Spearbox play the Grammys. Bands are playing on Kimmel still, and like on night show TVs, and I'm like, that's sick. And like I mean, really extreme bands were playing arena shows, like deathcore bands. So I'm like, I guess it's big. You know what I mean? It's such a weird thing because now we also live in the age of the internet. So like I don't know, a band getting 10 million streams, like yay, like massive, small, small, like it's everything is related in such a different capacity now, and those metrics of like success I think are what usually determine if something is dying or not. And those metrics are usually determined mainly by the music industry. So that's why it's weird, because I was just like, I mean, I have part in the music industry. I work with a lot of people in the industry and all that stuff, but like as part of the just like I guess that like I like metal, I like music perspective of me, it's like it's going well. Like like it seems like it's going pretty well. Like bands are figuring it out. Heavy music's popular right now. Sick, like, and if there's some, there's parts where I'm like, yeah, like metal, like, maybe a period of time, like a few months where I'm like, nah, nothing's really coming out. Like, it's kind of fucking boring right now. I'll go listen to like shit I grew up with. And then something exciting does happen again. And you're like, okay, I'm back, So it's like, I feel like it's kind of a give and take as well with that, where there's exciting moments of things happening and movements, and a lot of new things are starting to grow. And I think a lot of bands right now are figuring shit out, because there's this new, like I said, wave of like heavy is cool. Yeah. I would never have guessed that in my fucking lifetime, but like that's awesome. And you see like top 50 stuff and top 50 artists being like, yo, I fuck hard with like Knock Loose, and like, these piss bands, and like Lorna is sick, and like I Prevail, and I'm like, that's sick. That's sick that we live in this world. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like, and vice versa, so like, I feel like there's at least more synergy than there's been in the longest time. So to me, that's exciting. Yeah. And success, where I hear just music is becoming music again. And that's why like the 2000s really felt like that to me, where you see metal so embedded in just mainstream culture, whether it's video games, whether it's like MTV, whether it's like shows in general, whether it's in collabs. I get most excited when I see that, and that I see happening now. I don't know at the capacity it was in the 2000s. So like, that's why it's like, I think it's going, but it's still at the same time, like it's figuring it out, like there's a lot of bands that are almost like, and they're right there. And again, what's going to push it? I don't know, a TikTok or the industry, or like, they're going to play a show where everyone loses their shit, like, and everyone's stoked. Like, I'm not really sure. So we're in a weird space, I would say, but it's exciting too, and like I said, any moments where I feel like, like right now it's kind of like boring, I just listen to the stuff I grew up with, and then I still get that satisfaction of like metal is exciting. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't stop being exciting if today like a sick band didn't release something. Like it's just like it's metal music. If it's going, it's sick.
Totally. Yeah. Who are some of the people that you're like the most stoked about right now?
Oh, dude, Knock Loose, dude. That's what Curse is so fucking good, dude. It's so good. Knock Loose. Disembodied Tyrant is super sick, because they're kind of doing this new age of deathcore, where it's not like the traditional deathcore that a lot of bands are doing, or like the more like extreme, like Lorna Shore-esque type deathcore route. They're doing like this like pseudo like production crazy extreme type of, I don't know how to describe it, deathcore, where like they're not scared to use like risers and like cool, not just risers, that's a terrible thing, like dubstep stuff, like dubstep noises and like like weird electronic noises, and I'm like, that's really sick, and like zombie noises and all this like vocalist aerobics. So I think that's fun. There's a really small band called Mirar, which is, it's fall. I don't know if you listen to like Humanity's Lost Breath and Vulgaris and stuff like that.
I'm familiar, but yeah.
It's no vocals. Fucking love that band. It's extreme, blows your mind as like a musician, but also just as a listener. It's like, what is happening, man? Because it's just like you're hearing noises that you just are like, where did you, how'd you do that? Like, what is that? And that's, as a musician, I get really excited, and a guitarist and a music listener. So that band's really excited. So I would say those are like my top three, like Knock Loose, Mirar, and like a Disembodied Tyrant. But there's so many bands doing cool shit. Oh my god. I mean, you guys are doing fucking sick stuff. Your last record was sick.
Thanks, you. Yeah. I appreciate it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you're not allowed to say I Prevail right now just because I'm in the room with you, so it feels like.
Say it.
I'll give you all that money later after we're done recording.
See, that's what compensating for the YouTube assets.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, that one was super fun. And again, kind of to your point, it's really interesting to see now, kind of being on the other side of that album, like one of the heaviest songs that we've ever written is the one that's connected the most.
Dude, it's crazy that you have a song that starts with motherfucker, basically.
Yeah.
That is like, I'm like, that's sick.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
It's like, yeah, it's one of our best performing songs like ever. And it's like, just when we went in the studio and we're just like, let's just kind of write the heaviest shit we've ever done. And yeah, it's very confusing because we think, well, like, oh, well, this ballad one will probably pop off. And it's like, no, the one that just starts off with shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
It's like, okay, that's crazy. And like, yeah, by far, like the most, like the biggest live reception we've ever had to a song, like ever. And I'm like, this is so, like, the landscape is so interesting, and I'm confused by it, but I'm also intrigued and excited by it.
It's the energy, man. I think it was with stuff like that when bands write like Violent Nature and stuff. Dude, I told you before, like I literally like play a song as like a vocal warm up because it just gets you like hyped. Like it's just like an ass beat, or you go through it and it's catchy. Again, it's those songs that are like simplistic, short, but they have so much. You do so much work with such little time, and that's like something that's like that. When you're able to do that and then contain this energy, it's like, it's magic. And that's, I think, what resonates with a lot of people. And they're able to be like, that's sick. That's an ass beater. I want to instantly, like, I wake up. You know what I mean? Which is funny because a lot of people just think, oh, because it's, you listen to metal or this, or it's the guitars or this. Like, there's a lot of things people assume that bring energy to a song because they're just like, it's metal. Well, it's heavy, But I've listened to deathcore bands and some whatever type of bands, which like on paper it's supposed to be the heaviest thing ever because you're tuned so low, or that you're doing a million blast beats or whatever the fuck, right? I'm like, this isn't heavy because it doesn't have energy, and that's something intrinsic that like I think, and I love seeing that start to combo like with that mentality of how bands are using production in a way of like electronics and like bringing those worlds, because electronic music is so energetic, and that's why seeing metal bands, I think, instead of embrace the heaviness but embrace energy, they accidentally make like the heaviest thing because there's so much energy involved that makes people want to get up. It makes people want to mosh. It makes people want to, two-step in and just throw down and like get up, right? And that's something where, again, like a track like that, like you guys just did it. Like it just hit it. I'm like, all right, perfect.
Yeah. I think EDM is like a great thing to compare like in the world of metal, because EDM is like all energy of just like the rise and the drop, and then you go right back into the rise, right back into the drop, and it's like I found myself in the very early days of I Prevail. We played at one venue in Salt Lake where there's like there's multiple venues within the one venue. We played like the smaller room, but then there was this like EDM show going on after, and I'm like, I'm just gonna pop in, and I was like, this is so sick. Like, I want to go nuts in this room right now, because just all the rise and drops, But even from like a production standpoint, like seeing the Bad Omens show, at least from what I hear, they went with like an EDM production company, and it just
Oh.
makes a ton of like, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
You know, like metal and EDM is just like feeling the energy, and it's all vibes, you know?
It's fast. You want energy, and that's where it's cool because we live in an age where like stuff is can be electronic, but then also like there's other side of the bands which are doing like no click, no. I'm like, that's great because then there's just like you could choose what you want to do, you know what I mean? And like as a listener, you get to pick instead of it be like, no, a band has to be this or kind of have this amount of this or can't have this. Like instead of there being these rules, is now it's up to the person listening to decide which type of music. And if they're like, I've heard that too, even with my, it's like, oh, Nick, so too much overproduced, and you'll see that. And it's so funny because then sometimes they'll comment on something else that is actually really overproduced, but then they'll be like, oh, dude, I love how natural this is. And you're like, you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. But it's one of those funny things where it's just like, that's fine. You still, because what a lot of people feel, they don't feel production or this. They just feel the energy. They want this type of energy. Maybe they want more of like a raw, aggressive, primal. Like I feel like I'm in a garage, right? That's great. And that's why I love that there's music for that. And then there's music of like, oh, I want to feel like I'm in a big arena, huge stadium, and there's a lot of shit happening. And that's something cool, which again, like as music listeners, you kind of just pick what you like. And then the bands are also then free to be like, well, what energy do you want to feel like? Not only when you're recording the album, of course, but also when you're on stage. Like, do you want to have that more like, hell yeah, we record this in our and we record this at fucking Denny's, bro, like, or do you want to have like, we spent a lot of time making sure like this 808 was this exact frequency and massive and exploded your ass when it hit. Like, that's sick too, right? So like, it's cool that we can kind of pick and choose now.
Totally. It is hard to tell, like something that we've kind of realized like on this tour, because we're pulling out new songs that we've never played before.
Yeah.
It's like a tricky dynamic of you're in the studio and you're just writing what is coming to you or what you want to do, but it's like you never fully know what it's going to feel like playing it live until you've already put it out, And like with a song like Violent Nature, like right away when we played it live, I'm like, oh, well, this feels sick.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what it would feel like, but it feels dope. Another song that we have called NWO. I'm like, oh, whoa, this song, like certain songs for us takes a bit of massaging to really get to like a place live. And then other songs like Violent Nature, NWO in particular, like we played the first time and we're like, that sounded sick.
Yeah.
So that works. That's great.
Yeah.
I wish we could get some more of that feedback in the studio, but in the days of demoing where basically everyone is just around a laptop, it's harder to get that vibe of what it feels like in the room. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's why I see like there's bands that are doing that. And then there's bands like I said, still like literally going in their garage and like putting on their Nokia. And I'm like, that's so crazy that like we live in an era where like both of those, it's not about mixed quality anymore, which is great. I love that because now it's just about, it's like it actually is more of a characteristic and a choice and a part of the band, which like how do you want to present it, you know what I mean? There's no such thing now, I think, as a band, especially because like nowadays if you're just like a small like underground band, you can go find someone to mix your track for like $200 or like on Fiverr, for fuck's sake, right? Like, and they'll do a decent job. There's not really such a thing as like wow, this is a really like, wow, this sucks as a this is really, really bad. It's cool now. It's just more like people that like, what do you want? What characteristic do you want for that song to like really express it? And what energy do you want attached to it? And bands are able to, I think, express that better. And that's what I loved about the evolution of somewhat like technology and production to a point where it just allows a lot more musicians to express what was in their head for a lot more instead of it be like, oh, like I got, I wanted this and this and this and this synth. But now, in the 2010s, like, oh, maybe this just sounds cheesy, like if it is it. But now with all, the technology and how people work doing the skills with production, it's like a lot easier for that to kind of be like, oh yeah, that's what I heard in my head and it sounds crazy, bro.
Yeah, the feedback loop is so much quicker of,
oh,
let me just try to put this down. Oh, that was either sick or no, that sucked. I'm just gonna move on, as opposed to like everything that you would have
well
to
dude, it's cool. I listen to Violent Nature a lot, and I know in the background you guys probably did that consciously, like there's a thing that just keeps on going, like this loop, like it's like a vocal, I don't know what it's saying, the vocal loop,
just saying violence.
Oh, just saying violence. Okay, but it's like, yes, and it's cool because that's probably, I don't know how you guys came up with one of those, but that seems probably like one of those things where you're just like, this is crazy, like, oh, this is cool, okay. And then it's like such a part of the song that you probably don't even hear unless you literally listen to it. And then when you listen for it, you're like, oh, that's like, it's such an embedded part of the song.
Totally. Yeah. It's funny because like a small detail like that we actually like we didn't like fight about, but we like debated that, like,
Oh yeah.
because I remember I at one point was like, do we like this? Is this like, is this just like a weird random thing? Should we remove it? And some of the other guys were like, I think it's actually like an important part of the song. And it's like, again, something that you're the only person I've ever heard mention that at all. But it's like, yeah, you just don't necessarily realize the things that people go back and forth on in the studio, even to like the smallest details, man. I mean, like, we would also like go back and forth on like, I want to add like a ghost note on the and of beat 4. And they're like, fuck no, like we can't, that's like ruining it, you know? And
ruin the groove, bro. Yeah.
Whether it was in there or not, no one would ever comment it or know about it. But it's just like, there's so many micro decisions that are sometimes never even heard but felt.
Exactly. And then when they're not there, you're like, as a listener, you're like, this is weird. Something's wrong.
Something's off.
Yeah, something's off.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a, which is scary because then it's like every tiny decision has like a lot of pressure on it and it feels very important.
Yeah,
because you want to like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's nuts, man. I'm curious because you have your podcast, which you've been doing more of recently, which is very exciting. You spend a lot of time with some of the biggest people in the genre. I'm curious if there's any like key insights or like traits that you've noticed about all of the people who you've interfaced with, of like, oh, I noticed that when I'm talking to these dudes in bands, like a lot of them share this or this or this. Like, do you feel like any or see any through line?
Yeah. Yes and no. There's a lot of differences because everyone is so their own, personality of figuring it out. But and yeah, the similarity I see, I think, is a lot of things we talked about, like that side of like being excited about wanting it. I think most of all of them in a capacity have some kind of like, oh, I'm going to get up and like, let's get this shit done. You know what I mean? And some of them do it in this aspect of it being really fun, which is really cool too, where you can tell like they're just like a chill dude where like, it's not like they wake up every day and they're like, I'm going to get this and this and this and this. They're more like, oh dude, I'm going to have fun with my homies today, and like make a banger. You know what I mean? But then they'll still be somewhat like, everyone's very professional in their own ways. But you'll see, like I said, someone being like really chill and professional and get shit done. And you'll see another person who's like very like particularly like organizational, dialed in and getting it done. But in the end, the thing I see all of them is just like they wanted it more than probably the other 99% of people that tried to do it. You know what I mean? Like they wanted it, again, not always driven through ambition, but they wanted it because it was their life. It was fun, enjoyable. And some of them might have been like that pushed further because they were so ambitious to do it. And some of them were just like, I just do this every day of my life. Like, I don't care if I'm like, I just want to have fun, and that's the thing I have a lot of respect for and appreciation when I see a lot of those bands. And something I've learned is like, just like what you're doing. And as soon as you're not, like, don't waste your time. Like, don't waste, not only your time, don't waste other people's time. You know what I mean? Like, if don't just let it go and keep the monotony and all this bad shit you're dealing with, so other people can take it for you. Like, no, like, that's not good. Like, you move on. Like, if you're not in the right space, then like, take the time for yourself. And that's something like I said, I think a lot of these guys who are veterans in the scene, they do that. They understand what it takes. They're not scared to fail. That's a big thing. A lot of them are very like, not that they're like going and be like, okay, this is not going to work, but they seem all very adaptable. And that's a trait that I think is so important for a musician, and any kind of like person, that even entrepreneur, a content creator, whatever the fuck, right? You've got to be adaptable. And that's something a lot of these dudes, like, they know how to do that. You don't see very many divas, like very like pampered, like diva, like they only did it one way and they never had to adapt, and like everyone gave all their shit. You don't really see that nowadays, which is cool, and hey, kudos to people that can do that too, respect. But like, it's a lot of people that, even if for some people it's easier than others, they got their, band bigger or whatnot. But it's none of them were like, it was like they went for it. They did something special. They did something that connected with people that was special, and they were able to make their life revolve around that, you know?
Totally. Yeah, it's so different because like before bands would almost get like picked. It's like you have the songs, and so a label picks you up, and then you're kind of, as long as you're still writing music that people like, you can be however you want to be. And so that would, I think, incentivize a lot more people being divas, assholes, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But like now it's for traction, especially in the world that we're talking about, like everyone kind of has to be like somewhat self-made, and like you can't, if everyone who you interface with is like, that dude sucks, it's hard to build traction.
Don't be a dick is like, I think, the number one thing.
It's like actually legit very helpful advice.
Yeah, like it's just don't, like, just don't, even if someone did you real wrong, like just it's not fucking, just don't be a dick. You know, like there's no point. It's not worth the effort. It's not worth your effort, to be honest, and time. Just 100%. Like if someone else wants to be a dick, let them be a dick. They're gonna have to deal with that.
Yeah.
They're gonna have a harder time.
Yep.
Like, you know, you just move along.
Could not agree more with that. 100%. Yeah. I mean, even like, dude, I was watching a documentary on Blink-182 like this past week. It's like my favorite band of all time.
Dude, Blink.
And it's self-titled. The best.
Yep.
So I watched a documentary. Actually, I've watched 2 documentaries on Blink-182 this past week.
Damn, okay.
Yeah. But dude, even like watching them, they're like on tour with Green Day, and like they would you know, they're partying and they're like trashing green rooms and hotel rooms. I'm just like, I love Blake. I'm not saying that they're assholes because I just love them, but I'm like, oh fuck, like that's not how it is now.
That's a different lifestyle.
That's not how it is.
There's no such thing as like the rock star thing. You know, it's not like rock star now is kind of, as you mentioned, like I am now, you know, you're on the road for 8 hours. You're on a laptop answering emails. And you go play your show, and then you go to bed at a probably normal time, or maybe have a couple of drinks. And then if you're having way too many drinks, most of the time your band members are probably gonna be like, you probably gotta chill because you're gonna sound like shit tomorrow, bro.
100%, dude. I don't really drink in general, but especially on the road, because I'm like, this job is physical. Like, first of all, like hard to sleep like really well while being on a moving bus. Then I want to work out the next morning. Then I want to work. Then I want to play the show. And the show, for me in particular, very physical. Like I have to sprint for an hour basically.
Jesus.
So like, you know, like alcohol doesn't work in that. But yeah, you're right. It's a different world now for sure. And I think people who are like good people who aren't afraid to fail, I think is an important one. And just like down to just like keep pushing towards a greater vision. That lines up a lot with what I've seen in people as well.
Yeah, man, you gotta trust your vision, and people that, like, you can tell believed in themselves even when others did. That's a hard thing. Like, you know, if you grow up and you don't have people that believe in what you're gonna do, it's very hard to overcome that and kind of be like, I'm gonna do, you know, it's like everyone telling you you're a dumbass, and you're like, I know, so I'm gonna go be a dumbass. And it's like, it's not, you know, it's not logical. That's why it's very delusional. It's very illogical, and that's part of like the magic of it. And then, you know, when you do it and you make it, and everyone's like, okay, you know, and it's like, all right, I guess you weren't that like fucking crazy, you know, like, and that's something where it's like, I really did something, you know, in all of us when we were younger, like figure that shit out, and something told us to be delusional and figure it out. Right? You know, we did it, and look at where we're at, and that's something which I do not take for granted. You know, like literally, it's something so special, and that's why anytime anyone's like, you know, or sometimes I know people would stop and like chat, be like, hey, like Nick, I'm starting out, I want to, like, what do I do? And I'll tell them, I'll be like, first of all, love what you're gonna do. And I don't use the word be delusional, but I'm like, just if you really believe in it and you're willing to probably do sometimes crazy shit, you know, that's just like illogical to kind of like not get to where you want to, but like to do the thing you love, you know what I mean? Then go for it. And if you don't, you know, and worst case scenario, as long as you're having fun, it doesn't matter. You've had fun. Yeah, like who cares? Like there's no, like, you have to reach this or be this, or my band has to get to this, or my YouTube channel has to get to this. It's like, did you have fun? So it wasn't a waste of your time then. Did you learn? Yeah. So it's not a waste of your time.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Yeah, 100%. Well, dude, thank you so much for being here, man.
Dude,
where can people keep up with what you're doing?
somewhere on the dumbass internet.
You're all over it. Yeah.
It's somewhere there, dude. I don't know. Anytime there's a breakdown,
You're right there.
I'll see. Anytime there's a breakdown, anytime there's a core poser, I'll show up on r/metalcore sometimes. You can see me everywhere. Don't worry.
Hell yeah, man. Well, dude, I appreciate it.
Dude,
thank you.
For having me, man.
It's a wrap.